everybody out there. I am your host, and we are back. This is Profound Professionals, and I'm Jessica Koch. We have been running this show. We are approaching our 10-year birthday. I am super excited about that. Profound Professionals is an interview series that is bringing you global guests that improve your personal life or help you grow your business. We've reached and introduced you to over 1,000 amazing people. You've liked, you've commented, you've shared, you engaged with us, you've followed us, and we love you and we appreciate you so much out there for watching and sharing. Today, I have two brilliant and beautiful guests today. I have Summer. She is a digital marketer, community leader at Connections and Fab Collabs, author of Stop, Mind the Gap. You don't want to have gaps in your business. If you need to close them up, she's the girl to grab. She's loving, and she's called the Get It Done with a Shh coach. I also have Jennie Eriksen. Wave everyone to Jen. She is the co-founder of Event Raptor and host of Speaker Connections Global Networking. What a fun and engaging and loving group. If you go and sign up and attend, which I highly recommend, stay for the after hours, make that extra space and cushion in your calendar because that's where all the really fun, extra fun stuff happens. She's on a mission to empower people to be more visible in the world, and she does that. She's been living that in her life in so many ways, from her smile to her adventures with her husband through the world, and through her voice in some of the work she's done in her lifetime. So I am super happy to have both of you here. So welcome, Summer and Jen.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I was excited. My two besties. One of the things the cat I'll let out of the bag. I don't know why the cat was ever in the bag to begin with, but we'll let that cute little kitten pop right out and let you know that we're also accountability partners. And what a great thing to have in your life. If you don't have one, get one. That's what I'm going to tell you. That's what I say about volunteering and nonprofit love too. If you don't have one, figure it out and go get one. Get some of that stuff going in your life because it gives to you more than you ever give to it. So here we go. We're going to get from Summer a little bit of her journey and story of why she's helping people mind the gap, how she got into this digital marketing world, and a bit of her journey with Connections and Fab Collabs as it's changed over the years and in just the time that I've known you, Summer. So welcome.
Thank you. My journey, well, I started off my life in Canada, opening up a doggy daycare. And it ran beautifully for 7 years, but the last few months looked like I need some serious marketing going. So digital marketing at that time was very expensive for me. I couldn't meet ends meet in my 7th year of business. So I started learning a few things with regard to digital marketing. And when my clients from the doggy daycare figured out that I could do better marketing than they are doing with other agencies, they started hiring me. So finally, I closed down my doggy daycare and opened up the digital marketing just like that. And now I'm partnered with a cousin.
That was your story. Does Andrew
Yeah.
know that's your story? I know he's a part of our community and a big pet lover too. He has that book about dogs out. So that is
Yeah, he does.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
crazy. And then you grew into the Connections community.
Coaching fell into my lap.
Mhm.
Coaching just fell into my lap. And that's a long story that we will talk about another day. But suddenly I had an influx of clients that I was coaching. And I called my coaching program Thought Partnership and Collaboration. Thought Partnership Collaboration. It's built around honest conversation. Mostly we focus and implement and take action. That's what I teach my clients. I now help stuck entrepreneurs bridge gaps between where they are right now and where they want to be. Because when we are running a business solo, things will feel overwhelming, right? And things will be unclear, we'll feel unsupported, stuck in several ways. So I step in as a steady thinking partner. I think differently than they do, and I bring in marketing insights. And my joy is mostly in my clients' bottom line, increasing my clients' bottom line.
And just from knowing you, I love that I see that the way you one-on-one coach is the way you also community care. Like you
Mhm,
have things set up for speed networking and more slow-paced, in-depth masterminding slash networking. And you have accountability set up and you have things
mhm,
set up for digital marketing and just the advancements and changes that are happening on the different platforms and keeping them up to date with that and
mhm.
really really calling people to step up to the plate and do what they're supposed to do. Even when you're not one-on-one coaching them, I've seen that you pull that in your community. So let's hear a bit of Jen's story. Jen, tell us about your journey and how you. I know I met Steve before Event Raptor was even born. He was having his actual very first virtual summit, and I got reached out to by Kimberly Crow and interviewed by her to be a potential speaker on Steve's events. And I did speak on that first, and you were in Norway at that point, and I was very excited that I was virtually speaking on a summit based out of Norway because it made me even a bit more global, and really loved his energy and feel. And actually didn't meet you for quite a while after that journey down the road. So tell us kind of how a bit of that evolved.
Oh gosh. Well, Event Raptor was actually born out of my husband being somebody that needs to automate things. We actually wanted to run our own virtual events. I'd very much worked in the virtual global world anyway as a voiceover. So I've narrated for lots and lots of different countries. And we wanted to bring together coaching and work with people on client attraction and helping people build their businesses. And, you know, Steve wanted to run virtual events, saw that as a great way to bring people together. But as a tech guy, you know, and an automations guy, he can't be doing with what I call herding kittens. We were obviously talking about cats earlier. All those little things like speaker bios and what time is Jessica speaking and did Summer send the thing in, and couldn't be doing with that. And that's actually how Event Raptor came to be. We made a decision during the what I call the global interrupt back in 2020 when nobody could go anywhere. We made a decision as to whether what Steve had built himself for our own events would serve other people. And that's literally how Event Raptor came to be. So we had our son home at the time who was living in Dubai, and we sort of put our heads together to think about whether we should do this. And that's literally how Event Raptor came to be. So fast forward, here we are in the year of 2026, still going, still evolving, but still on the same mission, wanting people to share their knowledge, their wisdom, their skills, and all the good stuff. You know, even though we can, you know, get back on trains and boats and planes and such, the fact that this is such a privilege that we've pressed buttons and we're all in 3 different locations, even here today. How wonderful that what you talk about just doesn't stay within the country or the local place where you live, that you can impact people. So that's really been our mission, and that really has evolved from, as I say, with my voiceover work, just narrating something, knowing that somebody in different countries or different places is going to hear what you recorded in Norway. So I'm not the technologist, that is my husband, but I nevertheless embrace all the good stuff technology has to offer.
And not long after that, and just we should point out, Event Raptor is a great place as a speaker. It's still free to put
It is indeed.
your bio and set yourself a profile up there so you can be found by summit and podcast organizers. So get yourself there. And then shortly after Event Raptor got its legs and began to run speaker connections. Began to find its place in the world. And what I love about that is you really are helping people connect the dots of who has a stage and who needs the spotlight shined on them to stand on a stage. So you put those speakers and those event organizers together so that they can
Yeah,
find one another. And
yeah.
Summer's run quite a few summits. using your
On
social.
Event Raptor, yes.
Yeah.
Love the platform. I love the platform.
Yeah, and
We love her being on the platform.
we're using it too. Did you want to say anything else about speaker connections or how you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, just giving a little nod to summits. You know, when we talk about summits, and again, you know, that's something we can always cover in more depth on another occasion. We always say to people who are speakers, you know, bring along a little gift for people that you know that attendees can sign up for, and a VIP gift. You know, something that's a little more special. And one of our events, the first time we ran our event called Own Your Stage, we were the people who didn't have the VIP gift. We're kind of like, oh my goodness, we've done this and we don't have something. And so we put on what I call a very Britishism, a bit of a networking event. So in Britain, we say a bit of a do, which means you put together an event. It's a bit of a networking event because we had 110 people that had upgraded to a VIP. And that then morphed into speaker connections. We then thought, well, wouldn't it be good to actually bring people together? But specificity, as those of you who know me know, that's probably my favorite word in the whole world. Be specific. So bringing together people who are speakers, so whether they are guests or whether they give a 45-minute talk, and people who are event hosts, so not people that are just on our, using summits or on our platform, but people who are podcasters, live streamers, even people that want to find speakers in person, to speak in various places across the world, and work on bringing people together to help speakers find more places to speak and event organizers more guests and speakers for their event. And that, that's 3.5 years old now. And that's a free event too, because what we want for you to do, or want your payment to be, in inverted commas, if you like, is be very specific about what it is you do, who it is you serve, what it is you are looking for, but also come prepared to, we all go on different podcasts and different things. If you know a host or is looking for future guests, or there's an upcoming summit and you're meeting people at our meeting, then make those connections, connect people and say, I've just been on somebody's event or podcast, or I'd like to connect you, and do the thing. So let's just pay it forward and see how, we can keep that momentum going.
That's wonderful. Summer, I want to come back to you and talk about giving people a tip of something they can do today. I know we're going to go in a bit more depth about your book, Stop Mind the Gap, a little later in the show, but is there a tip from digital marketing, from summit experience, from, pulling things together and looking for those holes in their business? What's a special tip that someone could apply to themselves today that would make an impact?
I would say, you're a solopreneur, but you don't have to be alone. Stop trying to do everything alone. Slow your thinking before you speed up your actions. Join communities that are going to pull you up and make you think better, make you make better decisions, make cleaner choices. So your moves become bolder when you're with a community because you have backup. And your business starts paying you back instead of, draining you because you're doing it all alone. So don't be alone.
Don't be alone. We are not alone. I love that tip. How about you, Jen? You have a tip for everyone out there from all of the transition and growth and changes you guys have been through in your business?
It actually ties back into what I was saying before. If I can get specificity 100 times in an interview, then I will. It does tie back to specificity. So we all do different things, and you'll often hear people say, just get out there, just practice on this, or go to this, or be on that, or whatever. I always say to people, be very intentional and very specific about what it is you do, because there is no point in being somebody who talks eloquently about the menopause, going on a summit about finance, unless you can somehow tie the menopause into. So I always say to people, rather than just turning up in places where your message is not going to land, be very, very specific about those places, and cherry pick those places where that if you're on a podcast or if you're on a summit or whatever it is, that people are going to go, oh, this is great. This is really touching on the subject. This is really covering aspects of the summit. So that really is my tip. When people say, oh, I've been on 100 podcasts and it hasn't made a difference, and you say, well, how many of them were really, really in your wheelhouse of expertise? Well, I just went out there for the exposure. So save your energy, conserve your energy, and go to those places where you know what you have to say will be so well received.
And I would add to that, there's a coach for everything. And if you have a goal for something, if you are trying to do, 2 podcasts a week, so you are on over 100 podcasts in a year, then make sure that you're working with, and your goal is to make revenue, land clients, or have money coming from that, and not just exposure, because you will be exposed, but what happens from that? Make sure you're working with a coach, of someone who not isn't just teaching it, but actually has achieved it and is making revenue from going on podcasts. Find a coach for specifically what your goal is whenever you have the opportunity, or take a workshop or learn something about how to change what you're doing. And I think metrics are important, because if you've gone on 50 podcasts and you've seen nothing, then maybe it's not that podcasts are wrong. Maybe it's you need to decide what is your goal with the podcast, and what can you do with the podcast host to make a plan that you have the success that you want, because that podcast host wants you to be successful. And what can you do to help that podcast host be successful with their podcast, because they want to be successful. So it's about, everyone says, oh, you're successful when you help other people get what they want. So keeping that in mind, I think is a good idea. Any other tip, comments, or thoughts before we roll on to the next section, ladies?
Well, just really to double down on what you're saying, I'm sure Summer will attest. It is about if you're turning up in the wrong places, the chances are that's going to bite you in the bottom, because people are going to think about your judgment. Why would you turn up in places that are not really relevant to you? But also, we are both summit hosts and run summits. Start with the end in mind. You're obviously turning up to a summit to speak, but what can you do to support the summit? Because obviously, if the summit itself is successful, then everybody is successful, and that's a needle mover for everybody. So as summit hosts, we are always looking to hope for you to be supportive too, to tell people that you're not just speaking between 10 and 11 Eastern on the 27th, but there's a whole 3 days of this. There's something for everybody, and really support the place where you're going to be speaking, because that just means a greater chance of a win for everybody then.
For sure. For sure. Any final tip, thoughts, Summer, as we move to the next space?
Just one little thing. People go into meetings wanting to be impressive, wanting to be interesting. Instead, throw the focus on other people. Be interested in other people rather than be interesting and be all about you. You are going to be better remembered.
I love that. That's a good one. All right, Jen, from show number 1, I've always had a guest share a cause that they care about. I decided that if I was going to take the time to do 10 years ago to do a podcast, and a video-based podcast, that I wanted something bigger than me and bigger than the guest I was interviewing to come from it. So our goal here is to inspire someone to give time, treasure, or talent to maybe the cause you love and care about, or just to remember that they have something close to their heart, and life has gotten in the way, and maybe they haven't reached out lately to see what they need, or how they can support, or decide to make a post about the cause they love, or the cause they heard about from our show today. So really just trying to inspire the wheels of good to get moving again, and remind us all to think of others and place others in a spot of priority in our lives. Do you have a cause that's close to your heart, Jen?
We have a cause we support. We have a family member with a chronic illness, and so we have a cause that we support in that respect, for the research that they're doing, especially when people have rare illnesses. They are under the radar, because we look at all the big things that are happening, but those smaller, especially autoimmune illnesses, they're very, very much lumped together, and there isn't the specifics. So we do, that's really where our support goes primarily. In terms of a non-profit, we're still thinking about that, because often we find that because we're we're a global company, that it's kind of like, where would that go? Because we deal with people from all over the world. But what we have found, especially as we became digital nomads last year, that it's been really great to support the places where we've been. So look for a cause in each of those places. So, for example, unfortunately, when we were in Sri Lanka, there was a cyclone and there was damage, and it affected lots of people in terms of travel, devastation, loss of life. So there was the opportunity to do something meaningful there, which we did. And we were pleased to do so, to leave our small but hopefully contribution to the greater good, for the Sri Lankan Red Cross, for example, on that occasion. Visiting Istanbul, we're back to cats again. This is definitely a cat theme. There are places to support cats. Cats roam around the city, but you can create little houses for them. So lots of little houses, places that they eat, all that kind of thing. You can contribute to that. There are little notes up saying, if a cat becomes ill, this is the vet you can take them to. So that as another opportunity to donate. So at the moment, it's nice. There's a nice feel-good factor to be able to doing that. But in terms of creating something that is global, we're still thinking about that. So by being able to do something where we are, that feels of significance. So that's me.
I love that. When my husband and I travel, we do something similar. Like we took before the world shifted, as we would say. We took my daughter to New York City at Christmas time, and I made little places to get food gift cards and a little bit of cash and a little love note, and bound it in rubber bands and had a little stack of them and had them in my pockets so that I wouldn't have to go into my purse or unzip anything or go anywhere. And my husband's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, we're going to see lots of people that we want to give to, and this will make it easy, and because when you go into a major city, there's always someone in need. And I love giving something and having that be prepared. So right where you are, there's always an opportunity right at your doorstep.
Okay.
It
really is,
especially from the traveling Jen and her magic traveling carpet with her amazing. How about you, Summer? A cause you care about?
Well, I'm going to do what you just suggested. Keep love notes and gifts in the bag so that, we can give on the go wherever we are. I love children, Jessica, and I don't have children. I'm from India, and I have nieces, nephews, and cousins in Bangalore. And I got them to volunteer for this beautiful organization. It's totally volunteer run. It's called UNI. The alphabets U and the ampersand and I in one word. UNI is in Bangalore. It's totally volunteer driven, and it's a nonprofit focused on educating and making community impact. So it runs programs where children from underprivileged backgrounds, they can get after school learning support. They can get life skills, mentoring, like Big Brother that we have, Big Brother and Big Sister we have over here. And they get guidance through these volunteer teachers. Teachers are mostly like teenagers or kids in their 20s, youngsters in their 20s. So over the years, thousands of volunteers have helped to join. Now they have it in different cities in India. So this organization is also looking for corporate, corporate teams. Partner with corporate teams so that their CSR volunteering efforts can move forward with more impact. And I have helped my cousins and my nieces fundraise at least 8 times in the last 3 years. And while I was in India, I had almost had a chance to go see them in person, but I could only meet the director when the event was not going on. I was very sick in India while I was there. I didn't want to go there and be among the children and pass on some germs or something. But the next time I go to India, probably early 2027, I am going to do something impactful with you and I.
I love that. And you even started a nonprofit yourself too, didn't you?
It wasn't a registered licensed when I started it. It was a volunteer run blood donation group. It started in my college, in the college where I was studying, because my father met with an accident and we were new in the town. We knew nobody. And my classmates from college said, I'll donate blood. And our neighbor who was with my father in the same accident needed 9 units of blood. So I went along and collected these people, and I thought, so many people come here from neighboring states and towns and have nobody. What if they meet with an accident, like construction workers, for example? So I gathered a bunch of people from my college and became the primary contact for the blood bank, and then went to the neighboring colleges and then the neighboring town colleges. And it was a 20,000 volunteer organization. I called it the Lifeline. Organized some blood donation camps while I was in college. That became a movement. And even now they have an office in Venlock Hospital in Mangalore where it's called Lifeline. And there's a picture of me hanging on the wall.
I love that.
I started it, but now it's a complete organization.
Well, that's beautiful. So you've left a legacy in your wake that inspired people so much that they've carried it on without you. And I think that's so important. Talking about legacy and carrying things on far beyond us, books have that impact. So how about a book, Jen, that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business?
The book I always refer to that I think can grow not just anybody's business, but also their personal lives is Atomic Habits by James Clear. You'll hear me talk about that one all the time because it's a book that's an easy read because it's actually not rocket science, because when you actually think about it, it's stuff that we intrinsically know to do anyway. But it is, if you like, a loving nudge within a book to remind us that there are things we can do. We can, improve 1% each day. It's just 1%. We often hear people talk about lofty goals and I've got to be this and that and the other, and that gets scary. But I love celebrating small things and I love the gentle momentum. And I think that book very much embraces that too. The idea that you're going to go to the gym, but you might only get as far as putting your training gear on, but you don't make it out the door. You need to celebrate the fact that you had the intention to go in the first place. So I think that's true, whether that's in business or whether that's in life. The four laws of behavior, the change, make things changeable, make it obvious, make it attractive, easy and satisfying, all those things, so make things, look forward to doing things. If you put something off and it becomes super daunting, then you just never get around to it. So reframe it to make it something that you're looking forward to. And one of the things he talks about is the 2-minute rule. What can you do in 2 minutes? It's only 2 minutes. It's 120 seconds. And that very much ties into what you may know as the Pomodoro technique, which is something that I use, that if you are somebody that really struggles to focus, then chunk it down. So the Pomodoro technique is something where you set your clock for 20 minutes to do something. And that could be 20 minutes of, I don't know, hoovering the house, or it could be 20 minutes of trying to write that LinkedIn article. But, the 2-minute rule is the same. So scaling something so that just within a 2-minute frame, you do it. And then, of course, you can stretch it to 3 and 5 and 7 and that kind of thing. So I like the fact that the book doesn't, it's not highbrow per se, that it's one of those where you want to naturally read on rather than feel overwhelmed with all the things you've got to do. It's just little habits, and if you just implement a little bit every day, or you move on, one of the things is habit stacking. You've got a habit, you create something else and you link it to that. It just feels more manageable and more doable and less overwhelmed. So that's always my go-to to recommend to people, because I just think it's a good, easy read, and you can very quickly feel that you've made a difference, just from a couple of chapters in.
I'm in a book club for many years now, and we did that book, and I agree. It's definitely in one of those that you buy and you read it again later, and you check back in with it. So
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Summer, how about you? A book that you want to recommend that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business?
Absolutely, yes. Maybe this is why Jennie and I are best friends too. I was also going to say Atomic Habits, but I have three. I have three. Um, I'm going to be talking about my third favorite book, but my first favorite is The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma.
Oh,
I diligently followed it, religiously followed it for 3 years. I woke up at 5, I did everything he said. It made me grow my mind a lot. My
oh.
second favorite is Atomic Habits. Everything I wanted to say about it, Jenny said it. But
Well,
the third one has been my favorite for 6 or 7 years now, or since it came out. This book is currently required in my life, and I read a chapter every now and then. And the chapters are written in such a way you don't have to read it chapter by chapter. Just pull out one chapter and start reading. It sounds very, very, very meh, simple, mundane, but if you read it from his perspective, you are going to really make changes in your life and think of it again and again. This book, which is really shaping my life and business right now, is called Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. He's in
oh,
UK.
Wait,
He's
wait,
from
wait.
my
yes,
hometown. Yeah.
Slow down. Think like a monk.
Yes.
yes.
By Jay Shetty. Shetty.
Hmm.
And this man, this very, very handsome man, okay, you should look at his eyes. He's from my hometown, but he moved to UK. I think he's second generation UK.
Mhm.
And one fine day, he just got sick and tired of life. He just went back to India to become a monk.
Yeah,
Hmm. There
He
you go.
became a monk for 3 years and learned a lot over there and practiced being a monk for a while.
We don't
And
want to
then they said,
spoil the whole book for everyone.
I'm not talking about the book at all. I'm
Oh,
talking about him.
okay.
mm,
And then the monks told him, yes, now you're ready for life. Get out.
yeah,
So he came back to UK. Now he's either married or he has a girlfriend. He has a YouTube channel and Instagram account where his reels are like, you gotta watch them. They're very, very, very inspiring. This
yeah.
book has taught me to slow my mind, detach from everything like now noisy out there, lead with intention, the
Love it.
clarity that gives you.
I love.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I love it too, and I didn't realize there was a book. I knew his journey. I knew he
Mhm.
had done that, but okay, I got a
Wow.
Kindle for Christmas, so I
I
know what's going
know.
on it now.
There we go. Now we got a book, don't we, Jen? All right.
Woo!
We need to watch our minutes as we're rolling to an end of the show. But I want Jen, you haven't written a book yet, but you have some connections with books in multiple ways. Why don't you talk about some of that a bit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they do say everybody has a book in them, and I definitely have copious notes. My daughter bought me a what do you call it? A dot journal. We've got all the dots in it. So I've literally got a book full of my ideas. And actually, although I have a business book in mind, it's actually children's books I want to actually to write. And I actually had the privilege of doing so, narrating audiobooks when I was, really knee deep in my recording. I love the idea that we can have a book in different ways. We can obviously read a book, but also listen as well. So very much my world. Apart from reading so many books to my children when they were younger, which they do remember, which I think is lovely, but also narrating. I've narrated some business books for people and some children's books and stories and things. So that's how far I've got thus far. And I've actually edited some books for people too and given them some notes and some support. So yeah, I mean, should I say I'm definitely going to do it in 2026? Yeah, shoulda, woulda, coulda. I'd like to. But as I say, I'm just very much caught between the book I wish to write, which is about networking, I have to say, versus the ideas in my head that for children's stories, because I used to love not only reading stories to children, but actually telling them as well. I used to be part of a theatre group and I had the little people. So I was always making up stories and things. So yeah, so we'll see. Let's
I
stay
think,
tuned and check in.
yeah, I think there's no mandatory timeline. It'll bubble up when it's time. I remember being along the ride for Summer as she wrote Stop Mind the Gap, and she knew her time was now, and she was strict with her goals and writing it and having it edited and the book launch and everything. Talk to us a little bit about that, Summer, as we're approaching our end.
Okay, and first of all, thanks, Jen, for editing part of my book and giving me great insights into moving forward with it. The book I started writing was started in 2017, but I got nowhere. So I'll start with a bit of inspiration, a very big, profound piece of wisdom from Summer. When you're on your deathbed, you're going to regret all the things you didn't do. I have spoken to quite a few people that are dying. And when I ask them for what they regret, they never say, this is what I did, I regret it. But they always say, I didn't do this. I wanted to do this, but I didn't do this. So 3 years ago, when I was on my deathbed, I was given 2 weeks to live. My big anxiety or panic attack happened because I hadn't written this book that I'm meant to write. At that time, it was extremely important to me, and I had to get well to write Stop, Mind the Gap. This is from stories, my coaching stories since 2012. I've coached several people one-on-one since then, and their struggles that I collected, I put them along with the solutions I offered them and their journey. It's full of stories, several gaps. It's about the invisible gaps that keeps, I have this almost by heart, smart, talented solopreneurs stuck between idea and execution, stuck between planning and action, stuck between visibility and authority, doing all the things, doing all the between doing all the things and doing all the right things. So it's also part of mindset reframe. It's a part productivity kick. It's also some marketing clarity. And I'm already hearing from people that it's changing their lives.
No, that's wonderful.
Just 5 days ago, one person said she finished reading the book and she's going to read it 3 more times at least.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
That is so awesome. Well, I have really loved interviewing both of you, beautiful, lovely ladies. I hope you've had as much fun as I have.
I did.
Yeah, me too.
So glad. And if you're out there thinking, wait, I've written books, I've got communities, I have programs, I have software, I have things I'm doing in the world, I need to be on that show with that girl, Jessica. Well, come on, reach out to us and our team, and we'll let you know just how to get on the show. But before we say goodbye today, we're going to ask our lovely ladies, Jen, give us a final thought, a piece of information or inspiration as we go.
Well, again, I'm going to defer to something I say an awful lot, but I do mean it. I mean it every time I say it. Visibility is your responsibility. You know, however you show up, wherever you show up, it really is down to you. And I hear so many people who say, "Oh, the best kept secret. Nobody knows what I do." People aren't necessarily going to find you. You have to raise your head above the parapet, but it ties into the atomic habits. Just do it a little bit at a time. We have people at Speaker Connections that are like rabbits at the headlight, in the headlights. Oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? Then in time they say, oh, I just was on a podcast, it was cool, and I'm thinking of starting my own podcast. Visibility is everything, and we all have such wonderful gifts and things to offer people. Don't be invisible, be more visible, but do it in a way that works with you. And yeah, that's my mantra. I'm going to carry that through 2026 and beyond.
I love that. That's beautiful. Matter of fact, I had a bit of a quote myself at the end of a lot of the talks I would do. I would say, if you're not there, they can't find you. If you don't tell them, they cannot know. And if you do not schedule it, it will not happen.
It will not happen. Yeah.
And I was often talking about if you're not present on the different platforms, of course, they can't find you. If you don't tell them about and celebrate yourself, then they're never going to know how amazing you are. And if we don't schedule things, they do not happen. So get all of that done. So I love your visibility talk. All right, Summer, close us off with a couple of closing inspiration.
Well, I would say read a lot. Take a digital detox every now and then. This is probably saving my life. You know how we are like this or like this all the time? I call something a digital detox. I
Mhm.
put my phone off and I keep my electronics away from my bedroom.
Mhm.
When we sleep, both our phones go on airplane mode.
Mhm.
So for about 8 to 10 hours, the phone doesn't come on. And both of us, my husband and I, we read a lot. I had a goal for myself. Every single year, I want to read 50 books. And for the past 12 to 13 years, I think I've always surpassed the goal. I completed 2025 with 60 books.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So read a lot. Reading's going to change your world.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Read it, but apply it. Read it and
and
apply it.
apply it. Yes.
Yeah, apply, and that's where those accountability partners come in. And I'm so glad to have both of you. All right, everyone. I'm your host, Jessica Koch. This has been another Profound Professionals. And until next time, be kind to yourself out there and be kind to each other. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.